Hi folks, Canadian Prepper here. Today on the channel I have a special guest once again, and as you guys can see, we got all different kinds of money in front of us. We're going to be talking about the evolution of money. We're going to talk about what exactly money is and what barter is and what role all of this stuff is going to play in a SHTF situation. I invited my friend Dean from the Arcopia YouTube channel. He's a prepper, a coin and precious metals connoisseur, and he's here to talk all about how we're going to make use of these things if and when the worst happens. So let's get to it.
The love of money is the root of all evil, the love of it. But money itself is an important thing for just economic exchange in general. Yeah. Proof of work, being able to trade and barter. Actually, barter, like you don't even really need money. Barter is essentially doing a transaction, but money, it would be a universal barter item. So for instance, if I had a little thing of booze, but oh, you don't drink alcohol, so you don't want this. Well, that's not going to be very good trade, right? Or if you don't smoke, or if you're not a carpenter and don't need some screws, it's going to be hard for us to make a trade. So you need something universal as a universal barter item.
You need that medium of exchange. I drew up this thing here, very much similar to what you just said. For me, money is just a representation of time, energy, material, and labor. So you have, let's say a guy goes and plants a garden and he pulls some potatoes out of the garden. And let's say you are brewing some beer at your place. Maybe I don't need beer this time, but I need something that can capture like that proof of work that the amount of labor that, I put into my growing the food is going to be represented somehow when I give it to you. So we invent this thing called money. So like you said, at the beginning of time, people just traded. And that was a very primitive mode of exchanging one good for another. And this allowed for some specialization and complexity in society. And as we move forward here in our evolution, things get more and more complicated. There was a time when gold or silver, I guess, or precious metals in general, were the main medium of exchange, and gold signified proof of work, and because of its rarity and its other, like its fungibility and its
longevity too, it lasts forever. Like you could drop a gold coin in the bottom of the ocean and 50,000 years later it's the same gold coin. So other commodities can tarnish and depreciate, or ammunition could go bad, booze could go bad, things could rust away. So it's got rarity, it has to be mined and refined, there's proof of work there, and its use cases as well. Gold has the most uses of anything on the periodic table, I guess. Mm-hmm. So if gold was way cheaper, we would use gold in many different things.
And it's also very denominational too.
That's right, yeah, for sure.
What is it, you can stretch 1 ounce of gold into like a 50-yard piece of paper or something like that? Or
but I mean, like for instance, this is a 1 ounce Canadian maple leaf. Mm-hmm. So this has a value today of, I don't know, gold shot up so much with the bank collapses, but
let's just take a look at that. While you said that, let's see what gold's at. Look at this. Gold is up 3.36% today.
Oh, and climbing, yeah. So just about $2,000.
People are freaking out right now.
It's about time, yeah. All it took was the second and largest bank collapsing to...
We've been saying this, guys. Like, we've been saying this for years. So here we are. Sorry, cut you off there.
No, that's right. But this is a high value in a small package, right? So you could have 10 of these in your pocket and go buy a car with it, right? Yeah. So for me, there's two monetary metals, essentially. Is gold and silver. Those are the monetary metals. Now, you could also argue nickel and copper have also been used as monetary metals, but essentially gold and silver are monetary.
Basically, the ones that you can buy at the exchanges are copper, silver, gold, platinum, and palladium. Those are like the core ones, right? Most of those are represented here with the exception of copper. You introduced this to me the other day. This is a copper coin. What is the street value of that?
So that's 1 ounce copper bullion. So it's 1 ounce of copper is its intrinsic value, whatever that is for copper. But it has a high premium over the spot price of copper. So I'm not a huge fan of that just because of the premium. It's just like, for instance, this would be more of a numismatic silver coin.
Numismatic?
Okay. So, okay.
What does numismatic mean for us idiots?
All right. Numismatic is the price over the commodity. So because of this rarity and brilliance in the making of it, it's like an art piece. You're paying a significant premium over spot. Now, you don't want to do that. So this would have a premium over the spot price of copper, whereas just your standard bullion, like something like this, has a low premium. Yeah. So you're paying the commodity silver plus a tiny premium. Same with just your more standard bullions, this would have a lower premium. The Canadian silver maple leaf is decent, and this is actually the best world-renowned coin on the market. It's recognized. You could take it anywhere in the world. They know what that is. Yeah.
Like as preppers, we're concerned with melt value. When I see people like these coin collectors, I got this one and that one, I don't care about that. I care about what is the value when I melt this thing down.
That's right. We don't want to turn into stamp collectors and Pokemon collectors, card collectors. We're trying to stack the commodity, essentially, the money aspect.
And that's what you say about copper. You're better off maybe going and buying some copper tubing from Home Depot or something. And
that's right. Yeah, scrap copper fittings if you can get that close to the spot price of copper. But another cool thing, these are some pre 1996 Canadian pennies that are pure copper until they switched it and took the commodity out of the actual money. Yeah. So each one of these pennies now is currently worth 3 cents Canadian. So if you find a penny from pre-1996, it's actually worth 3 pennies in the value of copper. And the same goes for nickels. The old nickels, they were called nickels because they're made of, guess what, nickel, the commodity. And pre-1981, each one of these nickels today in nickel value is currently worth 15 cents. So if you're bored or you have kids and want something to do, you can go nickel hunting through a roll of nickels, just like when they took money out of the currency in the 60s for silver, people would go silver hunting or roll hunting. Right. Try to find that quarter that's
what they call junk silver, right?
That's right. That was our old currency. So here I have a proof set. I like this for teaching purposes and even just for my boys, but this is a proof set of what we had as money in Canada. This one's from 1964, but essentially in 1966 was the last year of real money, so silver in the coinage. Yeah. So this is a dollar, a half dollar, a quarter, and a dime, and those are all 80% silver. And the nickel is actually nickel, and the penny is actually copper. So this is real money.
Yeah. So if you melted that all down, it would be worth a lot more than the nominal value.
That's right. So this is a dollar, but the value of the troy ounces of silver in there, the 80% silver, is $18.50 Canadian, spot price for one of those. Now, what's nice about this, like currency back in the day, the silver, there's a reason why that they're a size that they are. So 10 dimes has the same silver content as a dollar. 2 half dollars has the same silver content of this. So you can change. So as a preparedness, or if we go hyperinflation route or something, you can, hey, do you got change for a dollar, a silver dollar? Yes, I do. Would you like 4 quarters, 2 of these, or 10 of those?
I guess the only problem with that would be, how do you know what's silver and what's how can you tell it this is silver versus is it the weight, is it the shine, the sheen, what is it?
So this is something that has a low enough value that there's no real counterfeits with those, and they are government issued money, like back when it was money. and there is a date on it. So these say 1964. Yeah. Now, past that, you can get, there's different ways to test for silver. There's a machine called a Sigma Metals Verifier that many brokers have. I've been thinking about getting one myself just to
How much does one of those machines go for?
They're, I think, $1,400 or $1,500. So unless you got a bunch of money, I'd suggest, if you're looking to make a purchase, find a local dealer, somebody reputable first to get a little bit. But if you happen to be stacking piles, eventually maybe you get your own machine if that's where you are in life. But
for sure. So what we have laid out here, I don't have a lot of precious metals. It's only something I've recently kind of made a foray into. And so pretty much what I have is here, and I got some gold backs, of course. This is something we've done on the channel before. I think you were in that video, actually. This is a $50 gold back, which is actually worth it's technically $50 melt value gold, but there's a premium, a very high premium on that. Then we have our copper, our silver bars, silver combi bar, and this is our denominational gold. So we have the Volcambi bars, so if you want like a 5-gram gold, this is a 1-ounce gold bar. And then, of course, we have platinum. So I just got this platinum coin. It looks very much like silver, but it's a lot more expensive. So I think it's slightly less expensive than gold right now. But
and platinum is a precious metal, but I'm not so sure that it's a monetary metal like gold and silver. But it still is a platinum coin. It has that value.
It's rare, and something I didn't even realize the other day was that all of the precious metals are in the same place on the periodic table, and it's because apparently, and I'm probably gonna screw this up, but they all have the same amount of valence electrons. Let me ask you a philosophical question. Okay. If gold, because some people have theories of gold. You know how they don't know where Bitcoin came from? Satoshi, who's Satoshi? Well, the same thing with gold. They really don't know how the gold got here. They say it came here from like an asteroid, and it hit the planet and it distributed everywhere. But wouldn't that be wild if, and this is why I sometimes believe in simulation theory, because how could our monetary system, if we look at money, right? We start with bartering, it goes to gold and silver. How would our monetary system evolve without gold? Without gold and silver, without precious metals? What do you think we would use?
Some other rare commodity. So again, money is just a universal barter item, and gold is valued because of its longevity. It never goes bad. Its rarity on the planet and its uses, so it exists.
But it's you see what I'm saying though? It's perfect because it's rare, like you said. Yep. It's corrosion resistant, lasts forever. It's denominational. Like it's, if you ever wanted to make
a perfect commodity, and
exactly
that's why gold is used. Now, if you didn't use gold, well, on the same note, okay, here's a silver maple leaf and a gold maple leaf from the Royal Canadian Mint, right? Mm-hmm. So this is 1 ounce of gold. It's smaller because it's heavier. This is 1 ounce of silver. In the earth, the historical monetary ratio was 15 ounces of silver would get you 1 ounce of gold. Mm-hmm. Now it's out of whack. It's somewhere 80 or 90 to 1 because silver is kind of manipulated down. It shouldn't be that cheap in relation to gold. Right. So that's why I put a higher value today in silver. Because if
you think silver should be worth a lot more than it is?
Right now in relation to gold, because there's a historical monetary ratio of about 15 to 1, and actually how it comes out of the earth with all the miners on the planet is an 8 to 1 ratio. So for every 8 ounces of silver that comes out, 1 ounce of gold comes out, yet the price doesn't reflect the value and the rarity. So it's literally the price is 80 or 90 to 1 in a ratio. So if you're looking to buy, what would you buy, gold or silver? My recommendation, because of the manipulation and the current price doesn't reflect the value, get some silver. So
I'd like to see the numbers because I've seen that gold, all of the gold on the planet will likely be mined in the 2030s, at least the known reserves. Right now they say that 200,000 tons, I believe 200,000 tons has been mined, and there's 250,000 known tons that could possibly be mined. So we have 50,000 tons left. Gold production peaked in 2019. I don't know if the case is true for silver. I know there's the common trope that there's more gold above ground than silver because silver is used in industry and it's processed and it's sitting in junkyards all over the world. What's your take on what we could maybe expect if this gold precious metal scarcity is true and there's not these big reserves that have yet to be discovered, like in Uganda, apparently there's a big reserve of gold.
So they say.
Yeah, so they say, yeah.
I mean, it's about rarity. What gives something value is its rarity. So if all of a sudden, I think we mined all the gold and I think we mined all the silver, then the above ground bullion ounce, it becomes more rare and more desirable, right? So the price go up. If they find a big, massive deposit of gold somehow that, you know, maybe the price of gold goes down because it floods the market with cheap gold, right? But overall, for how big the market is, gold and silver have been money for thousands of years. I don't think that's going to happen. It's relatively stable and a store of value. So that's another thing. When we started, you defined what is money. Well, money has a few properties that are very important. So money is a unit of account, a medium of exchange, and a store of value. Whereas currency, like fiat currency that isn't backed by money anymore, a currency isn't a store of value. It's just a medium of exchange and a unit of account. So this is 20 Canadian dollars, right? We can kind of, how much is that sandwich? How much is that car, right? We can go off of that, but this is not a store of value because of the devaluation of the currencies, aka inflation.
And largely due to the fractional reserve system, because what you have here is a silver certificate. So there was a time when the bank had to have the same amount of precious metal as they lent out in the system. But then they changed all that early in the 20th century where they said, okay, you guys can lend out more than you have. Yeah. And that's when this ceased to be a direct one-to-one.
That's right. So that piece of paper is a silver certificate.
And maybe we should just distinguish, this is a Federal Reserve note, this is a silver certificate, right? They look the same, but one is much older.
Yeah, so the silver certificate technically isn't money, it's an IOU for money. So that's payable $1 in silver, payable to the bearer on demand, is what it says on it. Yeah. So, and the reason for this is because, well, here's 10 ounces of silver. Like, try carrying 10 of those in your pocket around, or would you rather carry 100 little things in a wallet? It's for convenience.
Yeah.
But the IOU, and then both bills look the same, so they kind of fooled everyone, and everybody, for some reason, went along with it.
Yeah.
And now this buys you, or is backed by nothing.
Yeah.
Except the faith and credit of the issuing central bank and government, which I'm surprised people have faith and credit in still.
Well, it appears that the governments are insolvent, but they're trying to keep all the balls in the air for the time being. We'll see how long they can do that for. It appears as though the air is deflating from the bubble as we speak, as evidenced in the price of gold and the banking system collapsing. I think this may be foreshadowing. You have a Zimbabwe $10 trillion bill.
That's right. Yeah.
What can we learn from this?
Well, it has the same value as this one, the $1 US one.
Right, interesting. So
10 trillion and one. Here's $1 million one from. It's a novelty. This isn't a real one. Like off of, I don't know who give this to me, but this is $1 million and this is $1 and this, they're all pieces of paper. You can all use a pen and write something on them as like a memo, but they don't have any.
You can use it as toilet paper. Yeah. After the apocalypse.
Yeah, the Canadian ones suck for that. So
okay. They're too slippery. Way too slippery.
Yeah, but well, I'd say just trade this trash for like toilet paper has a purpose. So if you have room to stock toilet paper, that's another way to protect yourself from them devaluing this constantly. So this is a $1 US, right? Yeah. And it would take, I have the Canadian dollar written up, but that $1 US, you need about 14 or 15 of those to buy one Canadian real dollar, the silver 80% silver dollar. Well, since we're on the $1 note, they had silver certificates, but these are the Morgan silver dollars. So this is what people carried in their pocket, and the U.S. currency is 90% silver. About 1964 and previous. 1964, they went off real money. But the Morgan silver dollar and
there was a time when this could have bought you, like, it's $1. So in people's minds are saying, oh, what could I buy with $1? But there was a time when this was worth this could get you like $50 worth of stuff or something, right?
Well, in the USA, they had a slight deflation for the 100-year century of the 1800s to 1900.
Right.
Because they had real money. Now that we have fake money, during the last few years, I think the U.S. government printed 40% of all dollars in the history of the United States from 1776 in 1 year. 40%. Oh, that's gonna. I don't know what a thing of rice or one of my smoothies is going to be worth soon, but it's
going to find its way into commodities.
Yeah. But when you have real money, then you have ever so slight deflation, really, or no inflation, because it's a commodity. They can't print these into oblivion and devalue them all the time. So I'm an advocate for real money, and if they're not going to do it, then you can learn to be your own central bank a little bit and stack some silver and learn about this type of stuff. And
when we talk as preppers about utility of precious metals in a post-SHTF environment, post-collapse environment, obviously both, like all of these could have some potential utility. As you guys can see on the table here, we got some barter items, we got our funny money, we got some coins, and then we have our silver. I've always thought of silver as being the more useful one in terms of actual one-to-one exchange, and gold being more of a store of value. So
that's right. Just because of the valuation, like it'll be hard for you to buy a sandwich with
gold,
because that's
unless you have this combi bar stuff. But this comes at such a high premium that not a lot of people are,
Exactly. So the smaller you get, the higher the premium. So that little Velcombi would have a high premium over spot. And then these have a higher premium.
These have a very high premium.
And copper is also very high premium. So although this is a wonderful idea, and I love it, it's like paper gold, but the premium's too high. But that's why we have silver, because if something's too expensive for gold, or that's what they literally did, governments back when we had real money, or central banks. Like you could store this, and this has a denomination on it. It says $50. So that's actually with our government's worth $50. And an ounce of silver has a $5 denomination on it. So this is technically $5 in Canada, even though its silver content is, 30-something dollars now to buy this.
Yeah, its value is trapped in time when things were, when that was worth $5.
That's right.
It could buy you $5 worth of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But instead of fractional gold that has a high premium, then you go to silver and then smaller denominated silver. So my favorite thing is what's called junk silver, is the slang, but it's constitutional money. So in the U.S., you've got some over there. You've got some Morgan dollars. This is a peace dollar, the half dollar in the U.S., and then some Mercury dimes. So all of these have 90% silver content in. 10 dimes has the same silver content as one Morgan silver dollar. So for divisibility, from a preparedness standpoint, if we're going to do hyperinflation or barterability.
You'd have to know that though, right? Like there's not going to be a lot of people who trust and know. Like you're going to have to explain to them, as much as I like this idea of denomination, myself personally, like I think the majority of people are going to recognize something like this because it says right on it 999 silver, United States of America. So my only hesitancy with getting on the junk silver train is it's not 100%, unless you have one of those machines, it's not 100% verifiable that what you're getting is what they're saying, right?
Well, I'll counteract that directly, that these are Canadian dimes and you have the Mercury US dimes over there.
Yeah.
These have such a small value, it's not worth anybody's time to try to counterfeit. What they're going to try to counterfeit is a bullion and fool somebody like that. There's a lot of profit in trying to counterfeit gold. Like certain gold bars, people try to counterfeit. You got to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
This is something I don't think has ever been counterfeited, low denomination silver. So on the other hand, that's very, very trustworthy over bullion. So just to counteract that.
Okay. All right. I'll think of something witty after this video to come back at you.
You didn't know what you were dealing with.
Well, I mean, the problem though is with that is that you're going to need a lot of dimes to transact. And I just don't think that there's enough out there to facilitate enough meaningful commerce, that you would need a larger denomination. So eventually you're getting into like a bigger, whether it's even these like older dollars or whatever it might be, but that's a lot of dimes to go to town and, go to Barter town and buy your week's worth of ammo and stuff.
Well, one of those dimes is going to buy you quite a bit more than you think. A Mercury dime or a Roosevelt dime is pre-1964 until they took the money out of the currency. But one of those is $2.22 Canadian. So that's almost your lowest denomination silver. Yeah. So if a Tim Hortons coffee costs more than that now. But when all this fake stuff blows up and we are extremely high inflation or hyperinflation, then these are going to be worth more. You'll be able to buy.
But how many of these are there in circulation? Like how many could there possibly be?
Well, there is a lot out there.
Not enough to facilitate meaningful commerce on a large scale, though.
I guess so. Well,
I think the concept is good to have a smaller denomination, but I don't know if there's going to, I guess it depends on how many people survive, right? There's going to be a lot of people who maybe don't quite make it and aren't requiring that's the only one, that's one of the drawbacks with metals is that there has to be enough to transact with.
Well, yeah, so if everybody all of us, and precious metals literally account for, I think it's 0.5% of all investments by like people on the planet, which is so tiny because for me it's real money. Yeah. But this will work. But instead of this Canadian 80% dime being worth $1.84, maybe this is worth $100. And then all of a sudden the value came up that, hey, well, if I bought this for $1.84, now I can get $100 for it. I'll probably part with some, I might, and then it gets distributed around. But all this stuff, if it became mass produced, the price go up.
Yeah.
Right? If it becomes like that. But you're right. Gold, like maybe this goes from $2,600 to $100,000 or more. And this goes from $30 to $3,000. Then what do you go? Well, what are some other things we have? We got a nickel, like an actual nickel. You can go buy or find yourself a roll of nickels, and that's lower denomination. And then maybe the copper pennies, maybe 1 penny.
So what would you?
Tim Hortons coffee.
What would you actually like? Could you foresee us actually reverting to a system where we use something like this, though? Or are you just getting this from melt value?
Just melt value and almost a teaching tool. To have because a bank box of pennies, like it weighs a lot and it's only worth $25.
So right over here, of course, before, and I always hear this, and I was this same guy back in the day where I was always saying, I don't want gold and silver. I can't eat gold and silver. I don't care about it. And in many ways, I can understand that perspective. If you have space to store what you need, but you still may want something that somebody else has, and they might not want what you have. Exactly. So in that case, you kind of need the precious metals and the silver. But what are some of the barter items that we got here?
Well, yeah, again, money is just a universal barter item, right? So if you're concerned about inflation or them devaluing this crap some more, and you have some of this and a place to put stuff that exists and has value, I suggest doing that. But so here's some things that might be a good idea, but some ammunition, right? So some common ones would be a 9mm, a 5.56, but my favorite, just the 22 long rifle.
Okay, wait. Time out. There's someone in the comments section saying, All American Prepper, I can hear him right now. He's saying, don't you dare give away that ammunition, because they're going to come back and hunt your ass down. What do you say to All American Prepper, who just basically said, don't do it because you're going to get a bullet in the back?
I got more than you'd ever realized to spare, so.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
But so here's a brick, and it says it's got 333 rounds of 22 ammunition. These,
333. Isn't that the devil's number?
Yeah, that's
Winchester.
That. Yeah.
Subliminal messaging.
But a few years ago, I think I got some for 6 cents a round Canadian.
Yep.
Now they're like 10, 12 cents, doubled.
And this brass, that's got a little melt value too.
Well, the thing which is nice about this is its divisibility. So again,
right.
A box could be like $100 bill, but you got 330 divisibilities in there. So how much for that sandwich? Let's negotiate here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll give you 6 for a sandwich. It's like, no.
That should be enough to take you out.
And then you say like, no, 8. Okay, here's 8. And now so it's divisible.
I feel you. Yeah.
And ammunition is something that would last properly stored 100 years, I believe.
Okay.
Here's another thing that's going to be of great use in the future. These are one-time use snap lids for a cannon.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so everybody that wants to survive if something bad happens, that's divisible. Here's a box of 12. That has a value, or you can divisible by 1 to 1. And that's something we use anyways, and they last a long time.
Cool.
Booze is great. I even saw, I don't know what kind of booze he was storing, but booze, some of it is an appreciating asset. So the longer it ages,
right,
and then you get the inflation kick, right?
Like that 100-year-old Scotch or something.
And Canada already taxes the living bejesus out of all forms, but they're introducing a new one on April 1st. So maybe stock up before they tax additionally. Yes.
Okay.
So that might be good. Salt is an important commodity, right?
Well, worth your weight in salt. Isn't that what the Romans used to say?
You need salt unless you're living close to the ocean or a salt mine. Where we live, salt, vital for food preservation, salting meat, just everything.
Yeah. Salt in the sidewalks so you don't slip and hurt yourself after the crap hits the fan.
Yeah. But, and again, like cigarettes are also, like in prison, cigarettes are money, right?
That's how I'm going to pay the communist cameraman after the shit hits the fan.
Just like prison.
I'll have to put another type of tobacco in there, I think.
Yeah. But this is money in prison, right? It's like, I got this many cigarettes, you do this, or trade, right?
I'm sure you could do a whole essay on prison economics and how it, is kind of it's a microcosm of our own economy in a sense.
So guys that don't smoke in prison, they still want to accumulate cigarettes because that's the currency, right?
Yeah.
Cigarettes are better money than this.
I think they also use ramen as well.
I think so. Yeah. It might not be even cigarettes anymore, but ramen packs, that's a commodity.
Yeah, for sure.
Low divisibility, all uniform. Actually, there's a reason why I did my smoothies. So it's rare in Canada. We can't grow the tropical fruits outside. They're uniform, and they're relatively low denomination, right? So,
it's a dense form of value too, right?
That's right. So it's almost you can fit in 12 of them in a little box. Yeah. So in Venezuela's hyperinflation, it's weird. They had so much oil. They didn't want money at the gas station, but they wanted food. So if you had some food, like this could fill up your truck. So this could fill up your truck 3 times in Venezuela during their situation. And then freeze-dried food lasts a very long time. Some of the stuff you carry doesn't even have a best before date, let alone an expiry.
Yeah, I've always said, like, if you want an appreciating asset, freeze-dried food, because if you think about, if you were to take the cost of chicken right now, we all know that in 10 years, if the bird flu doesn't kill every bird on the planet, or if the government doesn't do something to get involved, then the price of chicken is going to be so expensive that if you were to freeze dry it right now, you'd actually have an appreciating asset. Typically, because they're perishable, they're depreciating. But if you can get it in a form where it's going to last for a long time, then it's almost as good as a gold and silver.
Yeah. And then, so appreciating and devaluing the currency, they're kind of the same. So for instance, Dean doesn't ask more for his smoothie that he made. Mm-hmm. The smoothie is the same. It didn't change. No, this is way less. This crap is worth less. So same with the canning lid, same with the booze. It doesn't appreciate per se. This will always be whatever this is, whiskey, and it will always be whiskey. But this is less valuable, so it takes more of this crap to buy that. Right.
And I see you got some screws there.
Screws, that's nice because it's divisible by the screw or the case. Right.
Even nails would be a good.
All that stuff, it lasts a long time, and anybody doing anything, this is valuable stuff. Coffee this is freeze dried, I believe. Yeah. Instant coffee.
That'll last for a long time.
Yeah. And coffee's something that we can't grow in Canada, so that's a hot commodity because of its rarity of where we live.
That's going to be like the saffron of the Mad Max world.
Oh yeah, I would. If I ran out of coffee, man, it's going to be ugly.
Yeah. Normal coffee, I don't think preserves more than a few years.
Right. The stuff you got to brew.
The beans.
Fresh stuff. But. Yeah.
But if you get it freeze dried, then that's good. Yeah. So there's probably a few other items that we could have thrown in here, like medical supplies.
You can, like, if you don't drink, don't store a bunch of booze, maybe. Store something that you use. So if you and your wife can, you might as well store some of these because you're going to use them anyways. If you like wiping your hind end, toilet paper is a good one too. Yeah. So if you build stuff, store that. If you don't smoke, don't bother with that. Store something you're going to use, not just to have thinking other people use it.
I will say, though, that there's an argument to be made that somebody who does, these are things that are going to be lusted after. The demand is going to be through the roof because if you imagine a situation like a recessionary, depressionary environment where people are stressed out, they're depressed, addiction goes through the roof. Everybody's trying to kill the pain. So, I mean, it might not be the most ethical choice, but there might be somebody, you might not need it. And I agree with you that 90% should be in stuff that you are going to use, but you probably should still have that stuff that other people might want.
Fair enough.
You know what I mean?
Like if you just have a kid and you see diapers on sale, buy all the diapers. Right?
Yeah, because they're going to last forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people will need those because there's a lot of, Zoomers who have no idea how to wipe a kid's butt or take care of it, right?
Yeah.
So, mind you, I don't either. So the Mrs. did all that work, thankfully. I did it once, and I actually got gowned up in a hazmat suit as a joke, and I put on the glasses. And anyways, all right, so I've heard it said before that you should use jewelry instead of bullion form because people are going to think that you have a lot of stuff if you're using this. Whereas if you go into town with this, it kind of gives the impression, this is all I got. What will you give me for this? Obviously, you're paying a much higher premium for jewelry initially, and it may not be accepted simply by virtue of the fact that people can't confirm it's what it is, whereas something like this, you can see right on it, it looks legit. What are your thoughts on bullion versus jewelry in a barter situation?
Okay, so silver, just because of its commodity and uses, has very many uses. So here's some silverware that's sterling. So each one of these is 92.5% pure silver. And you eat with it. It's got antibacterial properties, so it's great for utensils, but it can be used in jewelry. Same with gold for jewelry. But for me, personally, doing this a while, I know that this quarter is pre-1966 and it has 80% silver exactly. Whereas if somebody came up, hey, I got this gold chain, man. It's like, well, how much does it weigh? Yeah. Is it plated? What is the carat of it? Like investment grade gold is 24 carat. And somebody comes at you with, well, I got this 10 carat gold thing. It's hard for me to value it, put a value on it. But it is a way to store your wealth. Like in India, it's common for gifts and wedding gifts. They show their wealth and wear their wealth, so jewelry is big there. Mm-hmm. But jewelry does come at a higher premium. Silverware definitely comes at a higher premium because of it's like an art piece, essentially.
Yeah.
Beautiful stuff. But if you're anniversary present or something, and it's good as well to eat with them as utensils. Be careful with this. There's a lot of silver plated, and those don't really have a silver value.
There was a time when this was the, you know how people like steal stuff to take to the pawn shop?
That's the hot commodity.
Yeah, but there was a time back in like the, you know, the Jean Valjean days where you didn't know what that was, but that's the basis of a whole, you know, story. Les Miserables, the guy goes and steals the silver, right? So back in the days, in the 1800s, whatever, this is what would get stolen out of people's houses, was the silverware.
Yeah. Yeah, nowadays people don't even recognize the average person, right?
No, because it all looks like they just assume it's made in China.
That's right, yeah. But one of the biggest use cases that's climbing at a record pace is solar panels, because silver is the most conductive and reflective metal. So if you took bare silver and put an ice cube on it, it'll melt faster than you can believe, because its conductivity takes the heat and melts the ice quicker. But for solar panels, it's the most reflective, and there's no alternative. If you put more solar in a solar panel, and they're doing this, all solar panels are made in China, but they put more solar panels in, they get more efficiency. And the amount of silver they use in industry is going way up.
Yeah.
And like I think you said before, but no silver's recycled either, so it's all in the landfill. Whereas gold, if an ounce of gold comes up, it's probably maintained in a jewelry or a bullion, whereas a lot of silver gets lost. So there's a big case for silver as the investment.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, now in terms of where we're heading, as you can see here, I got the plastic here, of course. So we've talked about barter, we've talked about gold, we've talked about metal coins, like you have here. We've talked about paper money and why that's probably going to fail soon. We've talked about plastic. Now we're heading into electronic money, which is basically where we're at now with, you know, just moving digits on a screen. Now, what are your thoughts on cryptocurrency?
Yeah, so myself, I never got into the, they call it cryptocurrency. I think that's a funny name because nobody uses it really as a currency either, and crypto is just like a cool name, like a video game. I think it's a hook to get people. But when you said, well, the reason behind, Bitcoin is it's easy to transfer, right? It's easy. Well, that's because it's really easy transporting nothing, right? so I've had people say, have this argument. Well, you're selling smoothies. I wouldn't feel safe sending you gold or silver to buy some smoothies from you. And I said, well, if you're going to send me Bitcoin, I guess I'll send you bit smoothies because I don't feel safe mailing smoothies. But okay, I get it. The Bitcoin guys, they have everything except for it doesn't exist, and you can't do anything with a Bitcoin or a pancake coin by itself, right? There's nothing you can do. You can't hold it. You can't make stuff. You can't make a solar panel.
Right.
You can't.
That would be the intrinsic value.
That's right. Yeah.
Or part of it, I suppose. They would argue. You know what? Where's Dan? Let's let me just, we got a Bitcoin guy in the house here, so I'm gonna put him on the spot.
Hello?
Hey, can you come upstairs for a sec?
Yes, for sure.
Awesome. Thanks.
No problem.
All right.
Put your Bitcoin on the table. We got to see it.
Yeah, you're on camera.
Nice.
Yeah. So we're making a video here, and we needed a Generation Z to come and explain to us the importance of Bitcoin. So we're putting you on the spot. It's going to be two. It's going to be 2 versus 1.
Okay,
you could
grab a chair then.
All right, come grab a chair and let's see what happens here.
Just Bitcoin or the other ones too?
I think there's some good things to be said about the other cryptocurrencies, but I think Bitcoin, just being the OG, it was developed in 2009 after the 2008 financial crisis. So I think there's a lot of strong points to it.
But what if it was invented by the Illuminati to get us all in the grid?
Well, I mean, it's working.
So Bitcoin's like MySpace of cryptocurrencies. It's the best.
Yeah, it's never going to go down.
It's the first
We'll
one.
never be replaced by anything else. What do you?
I definitely think it will be replaced by something.
Yeah.
Like there are multiple different proof of work blockchains and coins out there, but I think just being the oldest and around the longest, I think it's gonna stay around forever for sure.
So you're like a big Bitcoin guy. Then I know you got a few Bitcoins in your pocket. Well, I guess you don't have them in your pocket. They're somewhere. They exist somewhere in the ether.
I got some too, yeah.
So what are your thoughts on like crypto versus like gold and precious metals? Like some of the stuff we have here.
I would say Bitcoin's comparable to gold and precious metals. Like that's, in my mind, I look at it as linked together, like as some store of value type asset and not something. I don't know. The argument I like for Bitcoin is with gold, over time, we exponentially always find more gold. There's more gold being found every year after year.
It has a ever so slight inflation rate. I forget if it's a percent or less because we find more gold. Comes up, goes in a bar, so it has a slight. It's very similar to population, actually.
Yeah.
So you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like the scarcity idea of Bitcoin. 21 million, there won't be any more.
Well, there's 20,000 cryptocurrencies, so that's quite a few.
But with respect to that, I will push back a little bit and I'll say 21 million, sure, but it's infinitely divisible, right?
Yes, there's 18 decimal places in it.
So what does it really mean that it's like, even if there was one Bitcoin and it was infinitely divisible and you could buy fractional?
Well, I'll help his side out, but actually infinitely divisible is better. So essentially, if we could divide this gold up into almost infinite, then we could actually buy a coffee or a little candy with it, right? But it's hard because gold is so valuable. So that's why we move down the chain to silver, to nickel, to copper, right? So actually infinitely divisible is very good. And if we did a blockchain that was keeping track of something that exists, like whatever commodity, it'll probably be the monetary metals, then it's infinitely divisible. So we had a gold standard for a long time and thousands of years, but with the blockchain technology, we have a better gold standard. So you can invest in something and it is infinitely divisible. So then I can go like, hey, can I buy that stick of gum off you? I can pay with gold. So,
but doesn't that negate the fact then, because you can't argue that there's a finite amount of something, yet it's infinitely divisible, like in 18 decimal places. So those two things kind of contradict, because you're saying on one hand, that's the benefit of it, is that there's only a certain amount. But if it's infinitely divisible, then it doesn't matter. It's very much turns into like a situation of what's a dollar worth? Like the nominal value is so...
Yeah, no, you got that part mixed up because this is one ounce of gold, just like he's talking 1 Bitcoin. So, but this, if I cut the gold in half, and then half, and then half, you can actually go on for infinity till down to a value of a stick of gum. But it's still, all those little divisible pieces is still 1 ounce of gold, right? So...
But you can only do that to a point where it's practical to what, like less than a gram or something, maybe 0.1 grams. Like
yeah, that's why that distributed ledger for keeping track of ownership of this in guarded vault somewhere is actually the future, and we don't need central banks, and you can be your own central bank.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
However, I am not a.
We're cutting this all out anyways. Don't worry.
But see, I am not a Bitcoin guy or a crypto guy, but I do understand that whole system. So my theory, and to attack the crypto guys, is they don't buy it to store, and they don't buy it to be used as a currency. They buy it as gambling because they think price go up. And I've never got into it because for me it's not purchasing anything. It has to be something that exists. Out there in the world. So if we're storing, I don't know, like canning lids in a vault somewhere, and they had a canning lid crypto that's backed by canning lids, I'm in. That's awesome. Right, yeah. But so that's why I've stayed away from the cryptocurrency. Personally, I think it's a Ponzi scheme, to be perfectly honest. But
yeah, the biggest Ponzi is the dollar.
It's the same thing. So. The Bitcoiners call this fiat, right?
Yeah, fiat Ponzi.
But I call Bitcoin fiat. It's faith-based.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen in transit.
Because there's a finite supply. Whereas like with what happened with all the central banks in the United States and Europe right now, they're contemplating a $2 trillion injection into the American economy. So that's what's going to instantly devalue every single dollar in the United States.
I have a problem with this finite supply because I get what you're saying with respect to the utility in something being infinitely divisible. But if you're saying it's a finite supply, yet every time somebody buys in, the value of what you now own changes, that just seems weird to me. So like, you know, if the more people that buy in, the richer you would get, because you have Bitcoin, right? Like the greater the demand for that thing. And I guess you could make the same argument with gold, but somebody who was looking at it from like a strictly monetary, as a means of monetary exchange, they would say that's not good because you want something stable over time. You don't want something that can wildly fluctuate just because some whale pulls out 5 billion and all of a sudden the price crashes. Like, so how do you get it to a point where it's going to be a reliable across time, where a Bitcoin today is going to be worth the same 300 years from now, as opposed to there's only 21 million, after all they're all mined, the price is just going to inflate to, or not inflate, deflate, I guess, to infinity, right? So the original holders are the ones who like have basically absorbed everyone's wealth then, right?
Right, I see what you're saying. I think a lot of it come to a point like that where the price doesn't fluctuate as much. I think that's going to have a lot to do with global adoption. Like, I think right now it's speculated that Bitcoin and all cryptocurrency worldwide global adoption is at around 2 to 5%. But if you look at like gold, the adoption's way higher than that. So I think as global adoption comes, there will be more scarcity for the asset, which will create less of these large transactions influencing the price.
Okay, here's the other problem with it. I don't know who invented gold. Nobody does. We had this talk earlier.
God, depends what you believe. God,
aliens,
God's money, yeah.
But someone invented Bitcoin. We don't know who it is.
And I think that is scary.
That is scary.
Well, yeah. What's Satoshi Nakamoto, whatever entity or whoever that is, but he's got a big chunk of Bitcoin and it's never moved apparently. So,
yeah.
But the problem I have with Bitcoin and all the other cryptos is that the only way price go up for Bitcoin is if you convince more participants to come in, and if you were early on the Ponzi scheme, top of the pyramid, like if I started Dean Coin or Smoothie Coin, and I'm at the top, and I convince some people, and then come on,
front run it.
Yeah, come on, buy Dean Coin. It's backed by, I don't know, something. Come in, and then I can sell out. Right, the whales will sell out. So I don't know. Be careful with it, but that's my take.
Well, here I want to give you as payment for your participation in this video, I'm going to give you some real money. You got enough. That's a $5 gold back.
Really?
That's worth, I think, $25. So you can send me the equivalent in Bitcoin. I'll give you my wallet address.
Okay.
Here,
And thanks. Perfect. Right on. Sweet. What if the grid goes down? What then?
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
Then you're just FUCK'd.
Like I said, there's like Bitcoin, but I do believe there will be like better technological advancements with the distributed ledger technology. Like there are digital assets that are backed by physical assets. Like I think it's a Pax Gold or something like that. It's backed by gold. It's gold-backed cryptocurrency. And there are quite a lot of different cryptocurrencies that are backed by real-world assets. Yeah. So I think there's just going to be, it's going to take some time, but like with the energy consumption from Bitcoin, there's arguments that it equals out and creates like a carbon neutral environment, but with the energy demand for all the mining, I don't think it's the most sustainable thing.
And there's the argument with Bitcoin mining that there's energy on the earth that we're not harnessing, like a hydro plant way the hell up in the boonies, and just put it right off the hydro plant.
Yeah, old oil wells that they burn off. That electricity.
Use that for something. Well, just so you guys know, just so you're not too hard on him, he did do his time in the military for 5 years. So we don't want to get twisted. This is not your typical Gen Z, guy who's, I don't know. You guys get hated on a lot nowadays by our generation.
Yeah, we definitely do. I can see why.
Yeah.
So on your sheet there, I got one more argument. So time, energy, and labor, right?
Yeah.
So if I go out to my farm after we're done here and I grab myself a shovel and a pickaxe and I start digging,
Yeah.
I'm gonna spend it's hot. Spending all this time, energy, and then eventually I'm gonna have a big hole.
Yeah.
What's the value of my hole?
Well, it depends. It does, because
What if I then go to the pile? Well, that was a lot of time, energy, and labor.
Well, that's where
Now
the
let's
material
fill
comes
it back in.
That's where the material comes in.
Yeah.
So what is the material there that you're provide? Like, what is the
a
utility?
big empty hole with nothing. So it's a waste.
Or some people need holes dug.
True.
I mean, to plant a tree, to bury a person,
Yeah, some people need holes filled back in.
So the
Yep.
material is the hole. But there are people who dig holes for a living. They're like arborists or whatever, like guys who got to go dig holes. So yeah, I mean, you could say, hey, I'm gonna go and do this ridiculous thing that has no real practical utility, and that means that has value. But it only has value if it's I guess you could add a dimension to this. There has to be because you could labor on something which is not necessarily useful, right? Like you could do something, like you could, chip away at a brick wall with a knife, a butter knife, and that's taking time, energy, and labor. But what is the material? What is the utility to somebody else, right? So there has to be, and this is not complete. This is a work in progress here.
I know, but just explain. So the proposition of the cryptocurrencies is that it took
You're saying that the crypto is like a whole.
proof of work, right? But proof of work for what? You don't have anything. So with silver, the price, what it is right now, is close to the mining and refining cost. So the total cost to buy one of these is spot plus a tiny premium.
Yeah.
And the current spot price.
So do you think the network has any value? Because that's what he's saying. He's saying that the network is where the value is in the ability to have like this decentralized ledger that can't be destroyed.
Yeah, it does, yeah. So it has a tiny bit. Okay, just like we both use a Hotmail email, and I have probably 10 Hotmail emails. How much was the Hotmail email? It was free, and it's completely free. And we can send messages, pictures, and it's free. So what is the value of that network? A free email.
We're the commodity, obviously, in that transaction.
Right. But it's essentially free. So is Bitcoin, is it worth 20,000 US, 100,000, or $5? What is the value of that? When an email is free, so your website's CanadianPreparedness.com.
Yeah.
What is CanadianPreparedness.com without the website you built, the everything, the business you built, and the products you have behind it? And the brand, CanadianPreparedness.com is worth squat unless you are behind it. So it's like CanadianPreparedness.com it's like a cursory way to navigate. There's value
things
behind it, and you put into it, but the name and domain itself is nothing, I guess. Yeah.
It's a roadmap for stuff that's supposed to exist in the real world. I know what you mean.
It's a tool. So my Excel spreadsheet at home, I have Excel, and then I can do things on Excel and record a ledger. What is that worth? Well, Excel's pretty much free, very close. So what is the network of Bitcoin for exchanges? Similar to my cost to send an email, my cost for Excel, and my cost to have a domain. That's what the value is. So it's not in the Bitcoin, it's in the distributed ledger. So Bitcoin is zero, and the distributed ledger is a cool technology that has a little bit of value. Yeah.
But I guess you could say that in the same way that, Bitcoin being the most adopted and having the highest market share has some value as a result of that, right? And I'm playing the devil's advocate now, but trying to help you out a bit here.
Well, typically the first of anything isn't usually the last, right? So MySpace is gone.
Still there, but
is Yahoo around anymore? I don't know.
Yahoo's actually surprisingly still doing all right.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think they own other things.
Napster, remember
Napster,
Napster? That's toast.
Nokia.
And I think a lot of these
BlackBerry.
technologies that we currently use will just evolve exactly like that. They'll deteriorate and diminish and get replaced by a new technology. And I think a lot of that is going to be blockchain distributed ledger based. Like with the FedNow system being implemented in the United States.
Yeah.
Oh, you're up to date on things. Holy smokes.
Replacement for like SWIFT transfers, money transfers, money remittances worldwide, like Western Union, like super costly services that with a distributed ledger technology could be done in an instantaneous, almost free fashion.
Exactly.
And I think that is the future, but I do see your side to it where like Bitcoin, like, I think there are new technologies that will build upon what it had, and they will actually provide some use and occur some value.
Yeah. It's just for me, Bitcoin isn't the value blockchain is, and what value does blockchain have? So for me to invest in Bitcoin is very silly. It has to be something that exists and is a store of value. You know, it's
the one other.
It's not digital gold. It is not. That's my. Yeah, it is not.
The only other downside, I would say, and to play the devil's advocate again, would be that the government can come in and confiscate gold.
Yes.
But they can never confiscate a code in your head. At least not yet. Elon Musk is working on it. But so long as you can remember that passkey or whatever it is, you know, they can never potentially take it from you. So there is like a...
But again, that you don't mix up Bitcoin, Pancake Coin, and the blockchain technology. So they can't take a code in my head if I have a blockchain that's backed by something real in Singapore.
Sure.
But also for Bitcoin, for example, they can't take that down.
Well, yet I've heard a supercomputer in the next decade or something might be able to take something out there, but
like,
it's like stealing nothing.
The argument for that is that a supercomputer will be able to break the SHA-256 algorithm, but if that's the case, then why wouldn't there be a new encryption standard invented once that computer is around, which will be the case. There will be stronger encryption with greater...
Yeah, it'll just be an arms race.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a great way to conclude. I mean, what else is there to talk about? We've talked about the original barter. We've talked about gold, metal coins, all the way up to crypto and the FedNow and the Fed-backed digital currency, whatever the hell it's called. CBDCs.
Terrifying.
I've got one more thing. So the love of money is not good, but money is important to show proof of work. What you've accomplished and for trade and barter and commerce and everything. But another thing to protect yourself would be actually producing something that exists, something that people need. So setting up like a free market business would, providing somebody value. And that's a form of protection. So if the stuff I do on the homestead, if I'm producing, goats and milk and meats and fruits and vegetables and things, and I'm always doing that, and inflation is a killer, the price of the goat goes up. It just goes up, and it's protecting yourself. And another way is if you're a young person, you're further down in the bottom of the Ponzi scheme. Like this is a Ponzi scheme. It's harder for a young person, the younger you are, to get ahead. Find a way. If you're really smart, find a way. But learn a skill that's valuable. It's hard to find competent people. Get some tools for your skill, and that's a way to protect yourself, because it's harder the younger you are, literally, because of the Ponzi scheme.
Yes, I would say that the neural network in your head is probably worth as much as the network out there that's holding your Bitcoin, because with that, you can provide people with a service, even if you don't have any of this stuff.
You can get it. Yeah.
You have the means to get it, or you have something that somebody wants. That's basically what you need to have.
I would rather not have any of this right now, and I'd rather have a barn, proper pasture fencing and corrals, goats, and some haying equipment, because
this is all a means to an end.
I can trade that somebody, like I might not be taking this, right? But I can sell somebody a goat that they need, and if they value that at something, then this comes to you. If you're a producer, provide value in the world, this comes.
Being a producer.
And actually, once you have that set up, you don't need this either. Build another barn and another system to help more people, and then this just comes. Right? So
Perfect. All right. Any final thoughts? No, I know we put you on the spot today. You did well.
That is all right.
Yeah.
sorry
Thanks
to pick
for.
on you. Yeah.
No, I think this
worries
was
at all.
Cool, man.
this was good. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Canadian Prepper out.
The best way to support this channel is to support yourself by gearing up at CanadianPreparedness.com, where you'll find high-quality survival gear at the best prices, no junk, and no gimmicks. Use discount code PREPPINGGEAR for 10% off. Don't forget, the strong survive, but the prepared thrive. Stay safe.